Chapter 18, Accessories. The following list of implements and materials is suggestive rather than imperative. While all these things are useful, many successful flower growers get along without many of them. At the same time, if one adds to the garden outfit from time to time, the expense will hardly be noticed, and in the course of 2 or 3 years, a fairly complete set will be accumulated. Do not feel in the least that in the meantime you cannot grow flowers successfully. For mixing soil, spade. A good, long-bladed, sharp instrument should be procured for use both in taking up plants and in cutting out sod, etc., for the compost heap and in cutting down the same for repiling. Hoe. Get a long blade with a straight edge. See that the ferrule and shank are of one piece if you do not want to be bothered with a loose head. Sieve. For small amounts of soil, an ordinary round coal ash sieve is just the thing. It is a good thing to have, as it will ensure getting soil for seeds and small pots to the proper degree of fineness. Trowel. Don't buy a cheap trowel. They may be had for 15 or 20 cents, but a 50-cent one will outlast a dozen of these and not break just when you need it most. Soil ingredients. A sufficient quantity of soil constituents should be kept on hand in barrels or covered boxes. Store where they will not dry out. Rich loam or rotted sod. This is the basis of most plant soils. Keep a good supply ahead that it may be thoroughly decomposed. Sand. What is known as builder's sand, medium, coarse, and gritty, is the proper kind. Contrary to some horticultural superstitions, it makes no difference what the color is, silver or gray, red, white, or yellow. Leaf mold. Easily procured by scraping aside the top layer near some stone wall or hollow in the woods where leaves collect and rot from year to year. Sphagnum moss is another very valuable accessory. It can be gathered in most swampy places or bought cheaply at the florist's. Peat, not obtainable in all localities, but it can be bought cheap from florists. Found under mucky bog swamps, but must be thoroughly dried and pulverized before use. Bone meal. This is invaluable for enriching plant soil. See page 19. The fine sort, sometimes called bone flour, is the quickest acting. For plants that stay potted for several years, it is best to use about 2/3 of the coarse ground. For planting and transplanting. Transplanting fork. This can be had in malleable iron for 15 cents. Remember, this thing is from over 100 years ago, so the stuff's not accurate for today. All right, so malleable iron for 15 cents, and as it is not submitted to hard strains, like a trowel, will do as well as the 75-cent imported sorts. It will save the life of innumerable seedlings in lifting them from the seed box. Dibber. You can make 2 or 3 of various sizes in a few minutes from a piece of soft pine. They are used for pricking off and repotting. It will often be convenient to have one end bluntly pointed and the other rather flat. Sub-irrigation tray. The use of this convenient method of watering is described on page 24 and illustrated facing page 28. The tinsmith will make you a tray for 50 or 75 cents. It will certainly pay to have one if you attempt to grow many fine, seeded flowers. Watering can. As this accessory is more used, perhaps than any other, and as the quality of the work it does is very important, it is poor economy to buy a cheap one. The Wotherspoon type, sold by most seed houses, is the best. It has brass fittings which will not rust, tighten or rot out, and a coarse and a fine brass nozzle with each pot. They cost from $2 to $3 according to size, but are well worth the money. Pots. A good smooth red pot adds not a little to the looks of a plant. For the ordinary collection of house plants, 3 shapes, quite distinct, are desirable. Standard, the sort ordinarily seen, pans, very shallow for their width and used for bulbs, or ferns, facing page 116, and rose pots, or those exceptionally deep. The latter are good for plants requiring large root room, such as single bulbs, or plants demanding exceptionally thorough drainage. Bulb glasses. These are constructed especially to support the bulb, while permitting the roots to grow down into the water. They come in different shapes and colors and are not expensive. Hanging baskets. Attractive baskets can now be had cheaply. They are made of wire, rustic work, or earthenware, and no plant lover should be without 1 or 2, as they offer a most effective way of displaying plants. Use picture wire to support them, as cord is apt to rot and break. They should be hung so as to be easily taken down. Boxes. While these may be homemade, as described on page 9, it is often desirable to purchase one of the ornamental sorts now on the market. Many of them are hideous, but there are artistically designed ones. The self-watering box is a great labor saver and well worth getting where one can afford the investment, as they will last for years. For handling plants. In addition to the above, there are a number of other devices often convenient to use. Brackets frequently make possible the accommodation of a number of extra plants and show them off to the best advantage, especially vines and drooping plants. They are readily secured by screws to the window casing. Pot hangers can be had for a few cents each and used to convert pots of any size into hanging baskets. They very often solve the problem of what to do with a choice plant that is beginning to take up too much room. Pot covers, made of waterproof material, are now to be had in a great assortment of styles and colors and are very useful, especially in connection with potted plants used as gifts. Plant stakes. Often any old stake is used for supporting drooping plants, such as fuchsias. A much better one can easily be made by taking a round stick, say 1/2 or 3/4 of an inch in diameter, and boring small holes through it with a gimlet. Stout pieces of wire, of a size that will fit snugly, are inserted and twisted once around to reinforce the wood. These may then be bent readily to any angle and thus made to conform with needs of the particular plant being supported. If one has a soldering outfit, the main stake may be made of heavy wire. Raffia. This may be bought cheaply at the florist and is much better than twine for tying up plants and similar purposes. As it is soft and broad, a dried, ribbon-like grass, it may be had stained green and with green stakes, makes the support of a plant practically invisible. Syringe. If only a few plants are kept. Again, syringe. If only a few plants are kept, a rubber bowl plant sprinkler may do for syringing them. But if one wants to combat insects and keep plants healthy with the least trouble, a small florist brass syringe will prove a good investment. With ordinary care, they will last a lifetime. It will also be useful for applying insecticides in liquid form. Fertilizers. In addition to the chemicals, etc., described in Chapter 3, there are to be had concentrated plant foods in tablet form. These are very convenient to use, and a box kept on hand will frequently prove useful. If any number of plants are kept, however, an old metal pail and a small dipper for mixing and applying liquid manure should have a place in the tool outfit and be used frequently. Never apply liquid manure when the soil is dry.